Welcome the Lord's chosen. Power doesn't just sit in thrones, it hides in corridors, whispered in boardrooms, and signed off in places the public will never see. Every empire, every dynasty, every movement that shook the world had one thing in common: invisible hands pulling strings behind the curtain. History shows us that kings who looked untouchable often weren't half as safe as the advisors who fed them information, the financiers who bankrolled their wars, or the networks that quietly erased their enemies before a sword was even drawn. In fact, it's been said that Napoleon feared the pen of a journalist more than 1,000 rifles. Because those who shape influence shape survival. Now here's where it gets interesting. When you're chosen, you don't walk this path alone. You may think it's your grit or your resilience carrying you forward, but somewhere in places you've never been and circles you'll never step into, allies are bending rules, cutting deals and shifting narratives so that your path is cleared before you even arrive. And they're not doing it loudly. They're doing it in ways so precise. It almost feels like the universe is rigged in your favor. But let's be real for a second. If you think this sounds like something out of a spy movie, you're not too far off. The difference is, James Bond crashes cars. Your allies quietly buy the car company and rewrite the driving laws. That's the level of protection we're talking about. What they're planning isn't about keeping you safe for today. It's about positioning you so powerfully that removing you becomes impossible tomorrow. Stay tuned, because by the time we're done, you'll understand exactly why certain doors open for you while others stay locked for everyone else. And why the people protecting you aren't just allies. They're architects of inevitability. Number one, they don't protect your ego. They protect your trajectory. True protection isn't about flattering you or applauding every small win. It's a quiet, practical effort aimed at keeping your forward motion intact. People with real influence don't hand out praise like candy. They take away the things that would slow you down. They'll tolerate errors, but they won't let mistakes become habits that derail the plan. Their focus is on where you are headed, not on making you feel good in the moment. When someone with power steps in, they think in timelines and outcomes. A careless comment might be harmless today, but ruin a decade-long strategy. Those who protect you will block the comment, shift the spotlight, or change the narrative before it becomes a liability. A friend who seems loyal now could be a risk if their behavior invites scandal later. The protectors will cut the connection before the problem snowballs. These moves often feel harsh because they are surgical, precise adjustments to keep momentum clean and steady. The aim is not to prop up fragile pride. The aim is to keep you moving toward the objective. This approach looks clinical because it uses discipline over sentiment. It prioritizes your ability to deliver value and withstand pressure above the little comforts that feed the ego. Expect blunt feedback, revoked perks, and hard truths delivered without cushioning. Those things sting because they remove short-term comforts, but they prevent slow rot. Momentum compounds. Small corrections now stop catastrophic cascades later. The less baggage on your path, the less chance someone can trip you up with a minor irritation that becomes a crisis. There's a trade-off built into this protection. You get the space to grow, but you lose the right to be emotionally insulated. You will be tested and corrected. You'll be expected to show discipline and follow the track set for your progress. The protection you receive won't be a warm blanket. It will be a course that channels your energy where it multiplies. It's lonelier than applause and messier than public cheerleading, but it's what produces results that last. Guardians of trajectory care about your end game, not your temporary comfort. They invest in the arc of your life and career, and that investment requires honest maintenance. Accepting that kind of protection gives you a rare advantage: steady, uninterrupted forward motion toward outcomes that outlast praise and actually matter. Number two, their favors are strategic investments, not emotional debts. When someone in a position of real power helps you, it's rarely because they're caught up in sentiment. They're calculating. They see you as a piece on the board that can create movement, disrupt a pattern, or open doors they want unlocked. A favor in that world is never random. It's an investment of time, energy, influence, or resources aimed at producing a return, sometimes immediate, sometimes hidden for years. If you think it's just kindness, you'll misunderstand the weight of what's happening. This doesn't mean they don't care about you as a person. But it does mean they don't operate purely on affection. They measure outcomes. They know that extending protection, making introductions, or pulling strings for you creates a ripple that benefits them as much as it benefits you. That ripple might come back as loyalty, as a stronger ally in you, or as a more stable structure around them. Either way, nothing is wasted. They don't trade in empty gestures. Every move is part of a ledger. What makes this powerful is that you are being factored into a larger design. To them, you're not just an individual, but an asset positioned within a strategy. If they clear a path for you, it's because they believe you'll generate impact that fits their larger narrative. It's not a handout. It's a vote of confidence wrapped in accountability. That's why there's an unspoken expectation attached to every favor. That you will not only hold the ground they cleared for you, but also expand it. Here's where many people get it wrong. They mistake favors for charity and treat them casually. They think gratitude is enough, but gratitude doesn't pay the debt. Results do. The best way to honor such protection isn't by saying thank you, but by proving their investment was wise. If you collapse under the weight of the opportunity they gave you, you're not just disappointing yourself, you're costing them credibility. And credibility, in their world, is the most expensive currency of all. Understanding this truth changes how you see those who help you. It shifts your mindset from comfort to responsibility. If someone powerful moves resources to shield you or advance you, they're placing a calculated bet on your future. That should light a fire under you. Because in their world, nothing is free. But if you rise to the challenge, the returns are limitless. Number 3, you're being hidden from the wrong people, not from the world. When those with influence choose to protect you, they don't make you vanish. They don't lock you away or silence you. Instead, they carefully control who gets access to you and where you are seen. It's not about shrinking your light. It's about shielding it from eyes that would distort or destroy it before it can serve its true purpose. Power works through placement. Being in the right rooms matters, but so does being absent from the wrong ones. Your allies understand that exposure is a double-edged sword, and reckless exposure can do more damage than isolation ever could. There are always people who thrive on exploitation. They watch for weaknesses, for slips, for unguarded moments that can be turned into weapons. If you're allowed to be visible to those people too soon, they will twist your name, drain your energy, and position you as prey before you've even had the chance to establish your ground. This is why you're hidden, not because you aren't ready, but because the environment around you is still volatile. To protect trajectory, visibility must be timed like a launch, not scattered like confetti. The irony is that while you may sometimes feel overlooked, in reality you're being studied, groomed, and positioned behind the scenes. You're visible in the networks that matter. The right people know your value. Opportunities are being built quietly while distractions are being filtered out. It's not obscurity, it's precision. Think of it as selective visibility. You are being kept away from chaos, so you can walk directly into influence when the moment is ripe. This kind of shielding doesn't feel glamorous because it denies the ego what it craves: constant validation. You won't always get the public spotlight or the applause that comes from being everywhere at once. Instead, you'll experience quieter movements, blocked invitations, connections that never materialize, doors that don't open when you expect them to. But these aren't setbacks. They are edits. Each denial is a calculated erasure of distractions that would only have slowed you down. In the long run, being hidden from the wrong people is what allows you to stand unshaken before the right ones. It ensures that when you finally do step fully into view, you're not scattered, compromised, or diminished. You are intact, sharpened, and impossible to dismiss. Number 4, they'll make you expendable on paper so you're indispensable in reality. At first glance, this looks almost insulting, being positioned as if you don't matter, as if you're replaceable. But the truth is, this is one of the most powerful strategies those protecting you can use. By keeping your public profile quiet and unthreatening, you're left free to operate without the constant target that comes with visibility. On paper, it looks like you could be removed at any time with no real consequence. That illusion is what keeps enemies from circling too soon, because no one bothers to attack what seems insignificant. But the reality is entirely different. Behind closed doors, you are the hinge around which critical plans turn. You're the one entrusted with roles, decisions, and insights that, if taken away, would cause the whole system to wobble. The apparent smallness of your role is deliberate camouflage. It hides just how central you actually are, and it ensures that you can't be easily undermined because no one outside the inner circle understands the extent of your importance. Operational freedom comes from this very low profile. You can move, adjust, and make decisions without every eye tracking your steps. High visibility breeds resistance. Low visibility breeds efficiency. That is the paradox your allies exploit. By making you expendable in appearance, they give you room to maneuver in ways that would never be possible if you were spotlighted as essential. The less attention on you, the more moves you can make unchallenged. The brilliance of this setup is that by the time anyone realizes your true role, it's too late. You've already become the thread tying multiple outcomes together. Pulling you out would unravel the structure they've built, so your indispensability becomes undeniable. What once looked like a minor, replaceable piece reveals itself as the cornerstone, and that discovery usually happens when others are already too dependent on your function to remove you. This is protection at its finest. Not inflating your ego with visible titles, but securing your influence by embedding it so deeply that no one can operate without you. Being expendable on paper is a shield. Being indispensable in reality is the weapon. It's a quiet power move that makes your presence both overlooked and irreplaceable at the same time. Number 5. They fight rules, not morals, when rules conflict with outcomes. People with real power understand that rules are written to keep systems predictable, not necessarily to keep them fair. Rules are designed to manage order, but they can also be manipulated to maintain control in favor of those who wrote them. When powerful allies step in to protect you, they don't blindly submit to those restrictions. They challenge them. If a rule threatens the bigger picture, they'll bend it, stretch it, or find loopholes wide enough to walk a kingdom through. Their loyalty is not to the letter of the law, but to the outcome they've decided is worth defending. This doesn't mean they operate without a moral compass. The line between rules and morals is sharp in their eyes. Morals are tied to principles, legacies, and values that outlast a single moment. Rules, however, are often temporary constructs that can be reinterpreted depending on who is holding the pen. When the two clash, it's the rules that get adjusted. They will push paperwork to its breaking point, reinterpret clauses, or exploit technicalities, not because they want chaos, but because they recognize that systems often serve the system makers, not the truth. To protect you, they will use this understanding ruthlessly. You may find laws stretched in your favor, policies reshaped quietly, or entire structures rearranged so you can move forward while others stay trapped. From the outside, it may look like luck, coincidence, or even unfair advantage, but in reality it is calculated maneuvering. Every legalistic contortion has a purpose: to prevent you from being blocked by rules that weren't designed with your success in mind. Of course, this creates tension. Critics will claim unfairness. Observers will whisper about backdoors and special treatment. But those whispers fade when outcomes speak louder. Value outweighs optics in the long run. A rule broken for a selfish gain rots reputations. A rule bent to create lasting impact reshapes landscapes. That is the calculus your protectors use, balancing principle with pragmatism. This is why their protection works. They don't waste time fighting the morality of your cause, they assume it's justified. What they fight are the barriers dressed up as regulations, red tape, and systems meant to stall momentum. And in doing so, they prove a truth that unsettles most people. Rules may govern the surface, but outcomes are what rewrite history. Number 6, your network is the firewall. Loyalty is the encryption key. A network built to protect you is not a social club. It's a living defense system. Each person in that circle has a role. Some watch for reputational spikes, others neutralize financial threats, a few handle narratives, and some quietly reroute pressure away from you. That structure exists so threats never reach your core. It's not coincidence when problems stop at the perimeter, it's design. People who guard you aren't improvising protection. They've engineered layers so that every incoming risk is intercepted, examined, and either neutralized or rerouted before it becomes yours to handle. Loyalty is what keeps that system functional. It isn't loyalty in the sentimental sense, it's contractual and precise. Loyal players follow agreed protocols, act without broadcasting moves, and keep sensitive information compartmentalized. When everyone adheres to that protocol, the network behaves like sealed software. Vulnerabilities are patched, access is limited, and only trusted nodes can read the critical files. The more disciplined the loyalty, the fewer leaks there are, and the more resilient the network becomes. This kind of protection demands standards. People are chosen for their competence, discretion, and willingness to act without applause. They're rewarded for silence and punished for exposure. When someone fails the loyalty test, they're removed or repositioned before their mistake can be weaponized. That may sound harsh, but it's necessary. A single loose tongue can turn advantage into contagion. The network sacrifices comfort for stability because the cost of a breach is far higher than the discomfort of strict rules. Functioning inside this firewall gives you a rare operating advantage. You can move faster, take risks, and pursue long-term projects without having to react to every spark. The people at the edges handle the friction. They monitor chatter, block opportunists, and keep networks stable. You get to conserve energy for the work that matters because the perimeter consumes the noise. Trust is earned and verified continually. Loyalty isn't a one-time handshake, it's an ongoing audit. Actions are the metrics. What someone does under pressure matters far more than what they say in calm. The protocol rewards steady performance and isolates volatility. Ultimately, this framework turns relationships into infrastructure. It replaces chaotic loyalty with predictable security. When the firewall holds, you don't just survive threats. You are insulated from them, free to execute with clarity. That kind of protection isn't flashy, but it is decisive. It makes peeling back your defenses deliberately difficult for anyone who doesn't already hold the key. Number 7, silence is a tool they use sparingly. Action is their signature. Silence isn't their default, it's a calibrated instrument. Most people mistake quiet for weakness or secrecy for cowardice, but real power treats silence like ammunition. You don't waste it on noise, you hold it until the moment when words would only muddy the effect. The protectors around you understand that silence creates space for decisive action to land with force. They avoid ceremonies of secrecy or smug hush because those are easy to misread and easy to leak. Instead, they let plans ferment in controlled privacy and then execute moves that force history to take notice. When they act, it isn't about dramatics or optics. Their moves are functional and irreversible by design. Announcements are not theatrical pauses or suspenseful cliffhangers. They are signposts after the outcome is already secured. That's why their public statements always feel like the last line of a play rather than the opening monologue. The work was done in private, and the words are only there to make the change permanent. The result is a sequence where momentum meets inevitability. Once they've decided, reversal becomes expensive, embarrassing, or both. Their habit of choosing action over performative quiet also rewires expectations. People who depend on spectacle mislead allies and calm enemies at the same time. Your protectors don't want that. They prefer to recalibrate the field quietly and then unsettle everyone with results. That approach confuses opponents who are trained to react to noise instead of outcomes. It also reassures genuine allies who see that protection is measured by what happens, not by what's promised. This style demands discipline and ruthless timing. They will wait through months of preparation without signaling a single hint, because a slip of chatter can erase the margin they built. When they finally move, their execution is surgical, influence is redirected, pressure points are removed, and the path ahead is reframed. The visible effect is sudden, but the architecture beneath it is deliberate and old-fashioned in its thoroughness. That mix of restraint and action creates a credibility that can't be mimicked by hype. In practical terms, this means you should expect outcomes, not explanations. The people protecting you will often refuse the limelight. They will not offer platitudes or spin. Their currency is effect. That currency buys permanence. When action is their signature, silence stops being a lack and becomes a promise, the quiet before a change that cannot be undone. Number 8. They'll use sacrificial pawns so you can survive as the queen. In networks that protect someone valuable, hard choices are routine. Not every position, person, or partnership can live under spotlight without risk. Some roles exist to absorb heat, to take blame, or to draw attention away so the critical pieces stay intact. Those chosen as sacrificial pawns are rarely unlucky. They're placed deliberately because the structure requires buffers. It's brutal arithmetic. Preserve the central asset and accept collateral noise. That's the calculus, and it's precise, not personal. This doesn't mean the protectors are heartless fanatics. It means they're prioritizing a larger endgame. The cost of keeping the core intact, is calculated against the cost of exposure, collapse, or derailment. When the stakes are enormous, they pick the smallest perimeter that can fail without destroying the whole. People in those buffer roles become the public lightning rod while the strategy continues unseen. The outcome feels unfair because it often is. Fairness isn't the metric here, survivability is. Those pawns are managed. Their mistakes are anticipated, their exits planned, and their narratives shaped so the fall looks contained. Damage control is not improvised. It's a playbook. The protectors prepare contingencies that include public apologies, resignations, or scapegoating that extract heat from the core. It's ugly theater, but it works. By the time observers realize what happened, the system has rebalanced, and the primary asset remains intact and operational. For the person being preserved, this protection is paradoxical. You benefit from the shield, but inherit the moral residue. You carry the weight of knowing that others were sacrificed for your continuity. Some people can tolerate that because the mission is bigger than individual guilt. Others can't. That tension becomes part of the burden of power. Surviving often requires a cold reckoning with methods you might never publicly defend. There's also a reputational strategy at play. If enemies can be directed toward expendable nodes, they waste energy on illusions of victory while the real operators consolidate strength. It's an efficiency move. Redirect attention so the true asset can move, rebuild, and outlast the outrage. Over time, the pattern makes the core look unassailable because attempts to attack it repeatedly hit decoys. This method breeds loyalty among some and disgust in others. It maintains the machine while asking humans to play roles in a drama they didn't write. Those who deploy sacrificial pawns understand that history rarely records the dirty work. It records outcomes. If the outcome secures an institution, a cause, or a life deemed essential, they accept the moral compromise as a necessary cost of survival. Number 9. Expect reputational pruning before the public bloom. Powerful allies don't gamble on unfiltered reputations. They understand that before you can step into wider influence, your story must be airtight, your image precise, and your connections surgically clean. Reputation is not something they polish once you're visible. It's something they edit, trim, and refine long before the spotlight even turns your way. That's why their first step is often subtraction, not addition. They remove what could become a future liability, even if it looks harmless right now. This pruning can feel uncomfortable because it's personal. Old friendships may be discouraged, past associations quietly erased, and casual comments you once made will suddenly be flagged as risks. It's not paranoia, it's preparation. Scandals don't need to be invented, they only need to be unearthed. Your protectors know that enemies dig deep, and once you're on the rise, even the smallest crack can be leveraged to question your legitimacy. So they seal those cracks in advance, often without asking for your permission. They'll also refine narratives because reputation isn't only about what you've done, it's about how it's framed. A mistake spun as youthful immaturity is survivable. The same mistake framed as arrogance is fatal. Your allies will decide which stories deserve to survive and which must be buried permanently. That curation is ruthless. They don't aim for perfection, they aim for durability. The version of you that eventually blooms is engineered to withstand scrutiny. Reputational pruning also extends to timing. They won't allow you to rise before the pruning is complete, no matter how eager you feel. From the outside, it may look like you're being delayed, overlooked, or even ignored. But behind the scenes, the delay is a firewall. They're making sure no unfinished edits turn into permanent scars once you're in public view. It's slower than you'd like, but safer than you realize. By the time the bloom arrives, what the public sees is a narrative that feels seamless. No loose ends, no ghosts from the past, no contradictory signals. What looked like an overnight rise is in reality the product of years of careful cleansing. And the irony is that the very people who will applaud your authenticity will never know how much of it was curated to protect you from being undone. Reputational pruning isn't cosmetic, it's survival strategy disguised as polish. Number 10, they engineer scarcity of information, access, and comfort to forge loyalty. Scarcity is a deliberate lever, not an accident of logistics. The people protecting you control the flow of what others can know, who can reach you, and how easy or uncomfortable life becomes for those on the outside. When access is rare, it becomes valuable. When information is metered, those who hold it gain power. That scarcity creates dependence. Allies learn that entry to your circle requires patience, discipline, and obedience. The result is a filtered ecosystem where only the most useful, loyal, or controllable actors remain. Deliberately limiting information prevents cheap mistakes and keeps narratives tight. If everyone has the same raw data, chaos follows. By slowing the drip of what's shared, protectors ensure messages are digested, aligned, and acted on in ways that serve long-term strategy. Controlled access to you reduces noise. People who can't reach you directly are forced to route through trusted intermediaries, which creates a chain of accountability. That chain becomes a test. Those who follow the rules gain favor. Those who try to bypass the system reveal themselves as liabilities. Scarcity becomes a screening mechanism that preserves the quality of influence around you. Comfort is rationed too. When life is too easy, entitlement grows and discipline fades. By engineering discomfort in certain pockets, making favors conditional, withholding perks, or forcing people to earn privileges, protectors train behavior. Loyalty conditioned by small sacrifices sticks. People who have to work for proximity value it more, show up when it matters, and are less likely to gamble that access will always be there. This isn't cruelty for its own sake, it's a behavioral economy where the currency is reliability. There's also a tactical advantage. Scarcity creates leverage. When only a few people know the real story or how to move a decision forward, those few become invested in protecting that secret because their value rises with it. That investment translates into protection of the protected. Leaks are less likely because the personal cost to insiders is high. The fewer the gateways, the harder it is for an enemy to find a foothold. This model breeds discipline, but it also breeds resentment if mishandled. The people who enforce scarcity must calibrate constantly. Too much withholding turns allies into adversaries, too little and the perimeter dissolves. When done well, scarcity sculpts a loyal, reliable inner circle that functions like a closed loop, efficient, quiet, and fiercely protective. It turns access into an earned privilege rather than an entitlement, and in doing so it converts occasional supporters into committed guardians. That conversion is the real power of engineered scarcity. Number 11. Their protection comes with a forecast. You will be tested publicly and privately. Protection that matters isn't shelter, it's calibration. The people defending you don't hide you from pressure. They design pressure so it becomes a tool. Tests are inserted deliberately into your path to reveal weak seams, to force habits into discipline, and to teach you how consequences feel before the real stakes arrive. These aren't random crises, they are rehearsals. Survive them and the network gains confidence in you. Fail, and the same people who move to protect you will quickly reassess how much energy they invest in your future. Private tests are surgical. They show up as tight deadlines, impossible conversations, or silent audits of your loyalty and competence. Those moments strip away illusions and force you to act without the safety net of applause. They measure whether you can carry responsibility when no one is watching and whether you'll keep your feet when the ground shifts. If you meet those standards, you get more autonomy and fewer microchecks. The system trusts you more because you've demonstrated that you don't fold under pressure. Public tests are louder and messier. They are the moments when your name is mentioned in a room full of skeptics, when your decisions are passed in public, or when someone tries to bait you into reactions that would be costly. These events reveal temperament and narrative control. The protectors watch how you respond under lights, whether you escalate, deflect, or steady the situation. Public composure rewrites how others perceive you and makes future attacks less likely because aggressors learn that striking you produces no payoff. Both types of tests also serve a signaling function for the circle. They separate casual supporters from committed allies. Those who bail when heat arrives are shown the door. Those who stand in the ring earn cred. That filtering matters. A protection network only works if the people in it can be relied on when things go sideways. Testing keeps the group lean and trustworthy. There is a moral dimension embedded in this strategy. The experience of being tested forces ownership. You stop outsourcing responsibility to protectors and start becoming the kind of leader worth protecting. That change is the real commodity your allies are buying. They aren't protecting weakness. They are buying maturity. Endurance becomes your currency. Each trial survived increases the margin of error you're allowed. Each failure decreases it. Over time, the tests harden you into a reliably resilient operator whose mistakes are smaller and whose recoveries are faster. That's the point. Protection that forecasts trials doesn't remove struggle. It uses struggle to make you stronger, smarter, and ultimately indispensable. Number 12, they monetize your integrity as insurance. Integrity isn't just a virtue in the world of power, it's an asset, a premium currency more stable than money and more persuasive than force. When powerful allies step in to protect you, they see your reputation not as a decorative feature, but as something that can be leveraged, traded, and insured. Your clean name, your reliability, and the trust you carry become the collateral they use to negotiate influence. They can vouch for you in rooms you've never entered, secure opportunities you'd never reach alone, and silence doubts before they ever reach your ears, all because your integrity gives them something solid to spend. Every time your reputation is put forward, it functions like currency in circulation. A deal gets smoothed, a door is opened, or a skeptic is disarmed because someone trusted your name enough to attach theirs to it. That transaction, however, is never forgotten. It's tracked. Allies keep mental and literal ledgers of when your credibility has been used and what return it delivered. If the outcome validates their investment, your reputation gains even more value. If it disappoints, the currency weakens and their willingness to risk it again shrinks. This is why protectors guard your integrity so fiercely. They prune associations, manage narratives, and enforce discipline around you because your reputation is their insurance policy. It protects them as much as it protects you. With your integrity intact, they can negotiate from a place of confidence. Without it, they lose leverage. It's not just about you staying untarnished. It's about them keeping a valuable instrument in circulation. Reinsurance happens through networks. When your name is used, favors are exchanged to balance the risk. Maybe someone covers a narrative slip for you in return for future access. Maybe another invests resources to amplify your credibility because it strengthens their own standing. Every transaction ties you deeper into a web of alliances where reputation isn't a static attribute but a moving asset. Constantly leveraged, constantly protected. For you, the implication is heavy. Your integrity is never fully your own once it's been recognized as valuable. It belongs to the ecosystem that defends you. Every action you take either strengthens the insurance policy or burns it down. And because integrity compounds like interest, each disciplined choice increases its value while each careless misstep drains years of accumulated trust. In the world your protectors operate in, integrity isn't just admired, it's banked, traded, and safeguarded like the rarest form of wealth. That's why they fight to preserve it. Without that currency, all the other protections collapse. Number 13, they build parallel realities where you can operate without bureaucratic drag. When the official system jams, endless approvals, petty gatekeepers, public posturing, the people protecting you create an alternate lane that actually works. This isn't some mystical conspiracy, it's practical engineering. Trusted people, discreet funding, and direct lines of access are assembled so projects don't stall under polite red tape. Instead of waiting for committees to finish their performance, your team moves through shadow channels that get things done quickly, cleanly, and with minimal exposure. That's how bold plans survive in a world organized for caution. These parallel realities are organized like efficient back offices. Roles are clear. Someone handles the legal backfill. Another quietly secures capital. A third frames the narrative so the optics don't explode. Everyone knows the playbook and the limits. The result is speed without recklessness. Decisions happen fast because the infrastructure is already in place to absorb consequences and rewrite records if needed. Bureaucracy is designed to slow motion. The shadow system is designed to convert intention into action before the slow world notices. Operating in a dual system has tactical advantages. It keeps you insulated from petty political fights that would otherwise siphon your energy. It lets you pilot risky moves on a small scale, learn fast, and scale only when you've already proven the outcome. It also creates plausible deniability when headlines threaten to derail the mission. The visible institution can claim ignorance while the hidden one continues to build. That separation is ruthless in its efficiency. The public face preserves legitimacy while the private engine creates results. There's a price. Working inside a parallel reality demands absolute discipline from the people involved. Leaks must be stamped out, loyalties constantly tested, and legal contours managed aggressively. Those who run these systems accept moral gray areas because the alternative is paralysis. They trade comfort for control, favoring outcomes over tidy paperwork. For you, it means faster execution and fewer obstacles, but it also means becoming part of a machine that hums in the shadows and doesn't answer to public sentiment. In short, parallel realities are the difference between a plan that collects signatures and one that changes the map. They are how serious operators sidestep the inertia of institutions and keep momentum alive. When official channels choke, these shadow infrastructures are not hacks or shortcuts. They are deliberate architecture built to ensure that progress keeps happening, no matter how many committees refuse to move. Number 14. Their final play is to make you inevitable. Becoming inevitable isn't about charisma or headlines, it's a structural outcome. The people protecting you don't aim to make you merely liked or feared. They embed you into systems, processes, decisions, and incentives so deeply that removing you becomes a strategic error. They place you on committees that matter, align your signature with budgets and contracts, and position your judgments as the linchpins of outcomes. Over time, your presence becomes woven into how things get done. Stakeholders adjust their plans around you. Vendors price your involvement into contracts. Outcomes are measured by your metrics. That web is the real insurance policy. Once the ecosystem adapts to your role, extracting you would break more than just a chair. It would shatter the table everyone sits at. This work is methodical. Allies map influence nodes and then graft you onto them. They make your decisions the default, your relationships the shortest path, and your credibility the standard by which success is judged. People begin to rely on the patterns you create. Budgets are approved because your name signs them. Projects move forward because gatekeepers anticipate your endorsement. That kind of embeddedness takes time, patience, and zero theatricality. It's quietly deliberate and embarrassingly effective when executed well. Inevitability also neutralizes attacks. When opponents try to remove you, they discover the cost of that move isn't just political, it's operational. Contracts stall, projects collapse, allies defect, and opponents inherit messy problems they can't fix. The calculus shifts. A short-term win becomes a long-term liability. Smart adversaries back away because the fallout is a price not worth paying. Your removal becomes a destabilizing force for everyone, and few will willingly trigger it. There's a moral dimension to becoming inevitable. It requires stewardship. Those who embed you must ensure that the systems leaning on you are resilient and ethical, because the same structures that protect can also enable complacency or abuse. Being inevitable creates responsibility. Your choices now ripple farther, consequences land harder, and your failures are costlier. The protectors count on you to steward the role with discipline, because inevitability should produce durable value, not fragile dominance. In the end, inevitability is the ultimate form of protection because it changes the game's payoff matrix. Influence shifts from persuasion to architecture. When you are part of how outcomes are made, opposition becomes a self-destructive move. That is the point. Not to make you untouchable in vanity, but to make you so integral to actual functioning that protecting you is no longer a favor. It's the rational choice for everyone involved. That's power designed to last. Powerful allies don't just shield you, they rewire the terrain beneath your feet. They camouflage your importance while making you the keystone. They bend rules without betraying principles. They prune your narrative before it grows wild. And they design entire parallel systems so you can move when others stall. Every move they make, from sacrificing pawns to engineering scarcity, from monetizing your integrity to embedding you in outcomes, is a precise calculation. None of it is random. None of it is for show. The final play isn't to crown you untouchable or parade you as adored. It's to render you inevitable, the axis around which the machine spins. By the time the world realizes what's been built, removing you would cost more than keeping you. That's not glamour, that's strategy, that's not noise, that's permanence. So when it feels quiet, understand the silence is loaded. When it feels like pressure, know it's a stress test. When it feels like the path is scarce, realize it's being engineered for loyalty. Protection in this realm isn't soft, it's surgical. It doesn't just guard your life, it architects your legacy. And that's the revelation. Powerful allies don't make you safe, they make you inevitable. If you found this insight valuable, make sure to subscribe to the channel for more content that uncovers the hidden truths of power and strategy. Don't forget to like this video, leave a comment with your thoughts, and share it with anyone who needs to see this. Your support helps us continue delivering these deep, game-changing perspectives. Stay blessed, always.